position of a range of bodies speaking on behalf of journalism, including its union. In its 2019 Press Freedom Report, Public Right to Know, the MEAA argued that in the era of overwhelming secrecy and mass surveillance, whistleblowers are paying higher prices than ever for speaking out, while journalists and media organisations navigate a minefield of new laws that criminalise more and more types of speech and publication. The union calls for urgent reforms to disclosure laws. Such arguments have been highlighted in the parliamentary inquiry created when the outcry over the rage grew raucous enough, the inquiry into the impact of the exercise of law enforcement and intelligence powers on the freedom of the press. The Australian Human Rights Commission's submission noted that freedom of the press is guaranteed in Article 19 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and that search and seizure powers in relation to investigations and prosecutions for breaches of secrecy provisions involve the limitation of the right protected by Article 19. The Human Rights Commission also highlights the chilling effect of such criminal laws, a point reinforced from the media itself. According to a senior editorial figure at the ABC, quoted anonymously in the Alliance for Journalist Freedom, Press Freedom in Australia white paper, published in May last year, we are witnessing the criminalisation of journalism. There are stories that are going untold because we are concerned about putting our journalists in harm's way, including being jailed. Also, and so it is for journalist sources, says an ABC News manager. The consequences of being outed as a source are potentially criminal. There are stories that should have been told and have not been told because of a combination of the ASIO Act, the EFI Act and metadata laws. That's the chilling effect in practice. Last year, the federal government passed laws such as actually that would be 2018, such as the National Security Legislation Amendment, Espionage Foreign Interference Act 2018, the EFI Act. The Sydney Morning Herald wrote that in enacting the law, the government introduced a general secrecy offence that allows anyone who passes on classified information received from a federal public servant, including publishing it, to be jailed for up to 5 years. Australia does not provide clear and unambiguous protection for freedom of the press, or freedom of speech more generally, the Herald noted, and I think some of us know. Unlike those enshrined in the US Constitution or the superior public interest defences in the US and the UK. But Australia is excelling in one area. Since 9/11 attacks, Australia has enacted 75 laws related to terrorism. The government also passed the Telecommunications and Other Legislations Amendment, Assistance and Access Act 2018. Some say in a rush. The AGF report noted that the Act gives law enforcement agencies a range of new powers to access journalists' confidential communication with their sources. Of course, the government and its agencies already had a lot of power before last year's Act. The UTS-based Centre for Media Transition's submission to the inquiry commented mainly on the Journalism Information Warrant Scheme, the Metadata Law, 2015. That means law enforcement agencies can easily get a warrant to access telecommunications data to identify a journalist's confidential source. The Centre recommends that the scheme should be amended to prohibit access to the journalist's confidential information, except where there is a serious threat to Australia's national security. The MEAA agrees and notes that the metadata retention regime is a particular concern for journalists who are ethically obliged to protect the identity of confidential sources. A UNESCO study has noted that Australia meets just one of the 11 principles relating to protection of journalism sources.